So now let me introduce you to 5 practical steps to reclaim your time and energy today. Let's get practical. The Sadhana of No is really a series of self-inquiries, of intention settings, and decisive action. So let me show you how you can reclaim your time, energy, and focus today. Step number 1 is you want to be clear who you want to become. It's much easier to set boundaries and say no to things and people and commitments if you know who you want to become. What is your ideal of yourself? Where do you want to go? So there, I'll invite you to ask yourself 3 questions. Who do I want to become in 10 to 15 years? What are my values and my priorities that I want to embody? And what does my day, my lifestyle, my relationship, my work look like for the ideal me? And then sit down, grab yourself a cup of tea, close your eyes and visualize yourself in 10 to 15 years. Visualize the person as much in detail as you can. What do you do? How are you in your relationships? How are you with your children? How is your professional life? How is your financial life? The details of your friends, what you want to wear, what's truly important for you, what purpose you want to give, what service you want to give to the world, how you want to be happy and joyful. And then take a notebook and jot it all down. Write it all out. The second step is to really identify what is draining you, what is feeding up, taking up your time and energy. So sit down and make a list of all the things, commitments, relationship, tasks that feel heavy, draining, unfulfilled, and that leave you dissatisfied. So sit down, take a notebook and ask you, what is draining me? What's not in alignment with myself? Also, if you know a bit more about your Ayurvedic constitution, ask yourself, what is not in alignment? What doesn't keep me balanced? And then write this down. For example, this was the first step for a client of mine who has done this transformational practice, and he really realized he is spending most of his time in the last 10 to 15 years on work. And he allowed the work to take a big priority of his life. All his energy would go there. It would even spill over his personal, private life, which eventually led to a burnout. And so this was his first step, to just realize that he was doing that, and he doesn't want to do it no more because he wants to have more time for things that he enjoys, going out into nature, spending more time with friends, and really pursuing his spiritual goals with yoga and meditation. So his second step was to really realize, where do I need to set boundaries? Can I leave work at the time I'm supposed to leave work, especially if I start really early in the morning? And how can I cut off work and not bringing the chaos from work into my personal and private life? One of the first steps he did was to take off a whole weekend, go camping, spend time in nature, reconnect with himself, recharge the batteries, and then come back and look at the whole situation with a more clear and connected vision of himself and who he wants to be and where he wants to go. The third step is my favorite step, is to focus on the big yes. So by each no you're saying, you are creating a bigger yes, a bigger vision of yourself, a bigger, healthier, more holistic approach to who you want to be. Let me give you examples. For example, by saying no to some social commitments that you don't enjoy going to, you're saying a big yes to more quality time with your family and friends, and a bigger yes to some work project or creative project that you want to do for yourself. For example, a mother just told me recently she had so many social commitments that she ran out and she got sick and she was totally drained and she would never do this again. For example, also saying no to letting your schedule over spill, with work commitments and other commitments. By saying no, you're saying a big yes to yourself, to your self-care, to your own personal and spiritual time that you need for yourself. I had a very interesting client, let's call her Nina, a few years ago. And as we talked about the Sadhana of No, she said, Verena, it's not just about saying no to other people and other commitments and tasks. It's a lot about saying no to myself. And I said, oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about it. And she said, well, I get so perfectionistic about a few things. So when I get started, I lose myself completely in it. And I don't stop before it's not perfect. But then I look up and it's 5 o'clock and I haven't even eaten. I haven't even showered. I haven't done the calls. I haven't prepared dinner. And I have to rush out to pick up my child. And this feels really stressful for me because I haven't done all the other tasks. So for herself, and I think it's a lot of us, we need to learn to say no to ourselves, to our perfectionistic streak. So we are not cutting short on everything else and that get really stressed about it. And she also said something else, which is really great, which brings me to the next point. Sometimes we have to say no to enjoyable things. Like she said, Verena, I'd really like to lose some weight. But you know what my problem? I love sweets so much. I love sugar so much. And I just need to have something sweet after every meal. So we decided, it's okay to have some dessert once in a while after a meal, but not every day and not after every meal. So saying no to sugar really means saying yes to herself, to how she wants to feel instead of drained. She wants to feel energized and how she wants to look instead of, not quite the way she feels right. She wants to be her perfect self or the way she feels good at. So saying no to sugar is saying a big yes to herself, her health, and the way she wants to feel and look like. The next step, the fourth step, is to really communicate clearly your boundaries. So you can be clear, you can be precise, and yet still friendly. Let me give you an example. You can say to a friend who is inviting you and you just really have something important to finish, you can say, you know what, it is really nice that you think of me, that you invite me. That's so sweet of you. But at the moment, I simply cannot commit to this. Or at the moment, I simply don't have time. This was one of the most beautiful teachings for me several years ago when I read the book L'Art de la Simplicité from Dominique Lorion. And she shared from a Zen approach that, you know what, you don't have to explain everything. You can just say, thank you very much for the invitation, but at the moment I don't have time. What you can do now as a next step is to give an alternative. Say, you know what, I love to meet you right now. It doesn't suit me until the end of the month. Why don't we set up an appointment next month and we just go for a cup of tea, just you and I. So that's a nice alternative. Also make sure you personalize your statements and to say, I need to prioritize self-care right now. I have a beautiful story with a client of mine. Her name is Julia, and I'm so proud of her. She came to me and we really want to establish back her daily yoga routine in the morning. And I said to her, just explain to your child, he was a toddler then, really small, that you need time for your personal practice in the morning, your mama yoga time, and that afterwards you'll be with him the whole day. A few weeks later, she came back all beaming and said, Verena, I did it, I made it, I succeeded. I do now yoga every time, every day in the morning, first thing. I explain it to my boy and he's okay with it. Even later, a few months later, she said, you know, I have something so beautiful to tell you. Guess what? Yesterday, my boy came to me and he said, you know, mommy, you love me and I love you and we will always be together, just you and I. The only time we are not together is when you do yoga and this is your mama yogi time. And this just shows you the power of explaining to your children, but to everyone else, what you need and what you would like to do for yourself. And you'll be surprised how much other people respect you for that. And the last step is to create sustainable, regular habits, routines that feed you. So to really block off a short period of time to begin with, in the morning and in the evening, and some slots between the day that are just reserved for you. These are pockets of sadhana that you can do to reconnect to yourself, to take care of your body, of your mind, and your spirit. So start up with blocking time. Start off with 5, 10, 15 minutes in the morning to do some morning yoga, some morning meditation, some journaling, or just drinking a cup of tea and looking out of the window. In the evening, do the same. Close your door either once everyone is in bed or just when you come home before everyone else comes home. Take a journal, write down what's been beautiful about the day, what you're grateful for. Close your eyes, do a short meditation or for your breathing exercises. And what's really popular with my clients is to set a timer, maybe 3 times a day for 5 minutes, where you take a break, whatever you're doing. Again, you step outside, you go for a little walk, you recharge yourself, especially for lunch, taking a chunk of time to nourish yourself and then go back to work. So these are my 5 practical first steps that you can take to reclaim your time and energy and focus. And I'm going to go much more in detail with all these points and more in my upcoming Mama Wonderful one-on-one course, How to Regain Your Time, Energy and Focus as a Busy Mom. So stay tuned in, and I really invite you to sign into my Diary of the Mama Yogi newsletter community. You can go into the bio and click there to subscribe, or get my free starter toolkit, holistic toolkit, to become a part of my community, because next week there will be once in a lifetime opportunity to sign up for my Mama Wonderful one-on-one course, launching in January 2025, beginning in February, for half the price of the course value. So go ahead, sign in. I'm looking forward to see you more often, and I'm happy to share all the wisdom and experience I have with you and your loved ones, because everything you do for yourself, you also do for your family and for the beautiful goals you're pursuing. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.